So watch this space and pray. Yeah, that's all I need to say on that one. Just for us now to put our hands together to welcome our speaker as he comes up, Tim, who's full of the Word of God and loves Jesus, which is two good things really around here, eh? They count for a lot. So that's not bad, is it? But let's put our hands together for Tim as he brings the Word to us.
Can everyone hear me all right? Awesome. A lot to get ready anyway, but especially more in the COVID era, with masks and whatnot to get off before speaking. Awesome. Well, kei ngā awa koe ora kua hui mai nei, ngā mihi mana hau ki a koutou, noa Aotearoa ahau, I noho ana ahau ki te whanganui atara, I tipu aki ahau ki Porirua, I whanau mai ahau ki Tūranganui a Kiwa. No Tūranganui a Kiwa, tōku mama, no... Good? No Sheffield, tōku papa, ko Mikina Paterson, taku mako, ko Tim Paterson, tōku ingoa, no reira, tina koutou, e tina tātou katoa. Thank you. Just to break down my mihi, just welcomed everyone from all the places you've gathered here from. I realise we've got quite a diverse group, come from all over the world. So just welcomed you all here, and just said it's my privilege to speak to you all this morning. I am from New Zealand originally, so I'm currently living in Wellington. I grew up in Porirua, but I'm originally from Gisborne. Gisborne is also where my mum is from. My dad's from a very small farming village called Sheffield, which is about half an hour outside of Christchurch. I can't imagine anyone here has been there before. But if you go through to the west coast, you probably pass through Sheffield. So if you're ever doing that track again, be on the lookout. That's where my dad's from. You probably all know my lovely wife, McKenna. Actually, yesterday marked 5 years since we met. It's quite special. It's very special. And then my name's Tim. And there we go, that's my mihi. If we could just chuck the first slide up, please, Hannes. I just want to take a moment and just ask you this question. How do you feel about giving? I don't want you to think about how you should feel, but how do you actually feel about giving? Just take a moment and just reflect on that, because I'll come back to that later on. Does giving excite you? Does it fill you with joy? Does it make you feel uncomfortable? How does it make you feel? So Pete asked me about 2 weeks ago if I could speak this morning. And he said that I'd be talking about giving, which I'm really stoked about, because I quite enjoy anything talking about money. You could easily talk to me about economics, you could talk to me about interest rates, you could talk to me about investments, you could talk to me about pretty much anything to do with money, and I'll have a good time about it. So if anyone else feels that way as well, feel free to come and have a chat to me at any stage. But maybe I'm the only one in here. That's fine, I'm all right with that. And actually the last 2 times I've spoken, it's kind of been on the topic of giving or money. So maybe I'm being pigeonholed into this area. But again, I'm happy with that. Good topic for me to speak on, so that's all good. And then after having spoken to Pete, I was kind of just praying and bringing it before God well, on this topic, where do you want me to take this, God? Where do you want me to speak on this on? And I felt him speak to me and say, this is one thing to speak on of a whole number of areas. We could easily talk about money in terms of worship. We could talk about it in terms of being part of the family of God. We could talk about it in terms of building the kingdom. We could talk about growing in Christ-likeness. And all of these are very valid perspectives to approach the topic of money or giving. But I felt God say, of all those things, actually, I want you to speak on something different to that. So if you could just chuck up the next slide, Hannes. I said to God, I felt like God say, you need to reframe giving. So the message of this morning is to reframe giving and to be a reminder of why giving is a joy, fundamentally. You know, of all those other things that could have been the focus, God said, actually, just remind people why giving is a joy. It might feel like a cost at times, and yeah, there's definitely a cost to it, but fundamentally, it is a joy. It's a joy to give. It's a privilege to give. And I'm sure at a later date, you know, we might cover some of those other perspectives, but this morning it's all about the lens of why giving is a joy. So you won't hear anything groundbreaking or like you won't hear anything completely new or different this morning. You probably all heard of why it's a joy to give before, but this is what God said to go for. So that's it. So, next one, Hannes, thank you. Simple as this. Why is giving a joy? Well, giving leads to blessing for the recipient. That should be reasonably straightforward. As I said, not very groundbreaking. Everyone could probably know that. If I give something to someone and they're blessed for it, that's pretty straightforward, pretty simple to understand. But we serve a God who desires to bless. That's fundamentally at the heart of who he is. He loves to bless people. He loves to pour resources onto people, to empower people, to prosper people. It's at the heart of who he is. And I'm sure we could all testify to God having blessed us abundantly at points in our life. There's a beautiful verse in Deuteronomy, where God says to the Israelites, he says, "And if you faithfully obey the voice of the Lord your God, being careful to do all his commandments that I command you today, the Lord your God will set you high above all the nations of the earth, and all these blessings shall come upon you and overtake you. If you obey the voice of the Lord your God, blessed shall you be in the city, and blessed shall you be in the field. Blessed shall be the fruit of your womb, and the fruit of your ground, and the fruit of your cattle, the increase of your herds and young of your flock. Blessed shall be your basket and your kneading bowl. Blessed shall you be when you come in, and blessed shall you be when you go out." And then it goes on to say, "And the Lord will make you abound in prosperity, in the fruit of your womb, and the fruit of your livestock, and the fruit of your ground, within the land the Lord swore to your fathers to give you. The Lord will open to you his good treasury, the heavens, to give the rain to your land in its season, and to bless all the work of your hands. And you shall lend to many nations, but you shall not borrow. And the Lord will make you the head and not the tail, and you shall only go up and not down, if you obey all the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you today, being careful to do them." So you can see there's heaps of different ways God's speaking of blessing there. It's very much at the heart of who he is. So he's talking about, blessing wherever you are, wherever you go, and blessing with children, blessing with livestock, blessing with crops, blessed with rain. So many different blessings there, mixture of material blessings, also mixed with other blessings like children, family, and being blessed with the right weather and the right seasons. So it's very much at the heart of God. God loves to bless. And he wants the world to be blessed in all these different ways. That's his heart. But when he's referring to material blessings, actually he chooses to use us as the means of blessing the world a lot of the time. Also in Deuteronomy, God says this, "For there will never cease to be poor in the land. Therefore, I command you, you shall open wide your hand to your brother, to the needy and to the poor in your land." So the directive's at us. You shall. So that's plural there as well. So all of us together. It's our job, the command is on us to open our hands wide to those who are in need and also beyond. in our land. Here are some of the previous causes we've supported in gift days past. I realise that some of you weren't in the church at those stages, so maybe I'll just break down the first three because there's heaps of them and it could take ages. But if you want to chat to me about any of the other ones, I can do that later. So in 2019, some of you may have been aware, but some of you may not, there was quite a significant cyclone that hit Mozambique, which was followed by an even worse cyclone that followed straight afterwards. Basically displaced hundreds of thousands of people. Really huge devastation to one of the poorest countries in the world. So, we as a church, we supported them by giving some of our gift day to support them rebuilding their lives. We also previously provided funds to the North Paterson Care Centre, which provide free counselling services to those who can't afford it. Super crucial in the community we're in. Lots of young people with lots of issues. We've also supported the House of Grace previously, which needs no introduction because Phil spoke about it earlier. But we supported them a few years ago when they were doing renovation work on their building, which I think was fixing the roof or something. Again, they're doing super important ministry with young mums who are very vulnerable and trying to raise children in a godly way. Awesome stuff. So we've managed to support some areas of real need. People that really needed to be blessed. And again, awesome initiatives that are impacting the community around us. And we've blessed them financially from the things that we've sowed into them, the way that we've given through Gift Day. And that's such a joy to be able to say that as a church, instead of buying a nice new car, this is what we do with our money. We supported people that had nothing, that lost everything, or people that needed a second chance, or people that needed help through a really tough stage. What a joy to say that's what we put our money to. And that's the cool thing, like however big or small your contribution was, if you were part of that, you did that. That was what you did. That was on you. You guys did that. That's awesome. You've helped channel the blessing of God to those causes and those people. How awesome is that? And hey, if you weren't involved in that, it's no big deal. You'll get another opportunity in a couple of weeks' time. So it'll come back around, no worries. Second point, simple as this. Giving leads to the blessing of the giver as well. So if you give, the person who receives is blessed, but actually, as a giver, you are also blessed too. Very simple. As I've already covered, God wants to bless the whole world through us, but it actually doesn't mean he needs our help to do that. He's completely able to do that without us. But he has chosen us to pour his blessing out on others. And that's because it brings him pleasure and delight, but also because it blesses us. And this is the thing, if we choose not to be involved or we don't be involved in this, he'll just do it without us. It's fine. He will make it happen. He is completely able to do that. And the sad thing is, if that's the case, we'll be the ones missing out. He's going to do it anyway, but just we won't be a part of it. Some beautiful verses in Proverbs. The first one goes like this. Whoever despises his neighbour is a sinner, but blessed is he who is generous to the poor. And the second one is one of my favourite verses in the scriptures. It says, whoever is generous to the poor lends to the Lord, and he will repay him for his deed. Is that the way you think about your giving? Do you think about who you're actually giving to? Jesus talks a little bit about that in Matthew 25, about what you did for the least of these, you did for me. Just keep that in mind as well when you think about your giving. Who are you giving to? What are you giving to? And in doing that, you will be repaid for your deed as well. Instead of getting theoretical on that point, I think everyone likes to hear some stories. I have heaps of stories of giving which have kind of accumulated through my life over the years. Some of them I've shared before, so apologies if you've heard these before. But God really started to speak to me about giving when I was 18 years old, when I got my first job. And it's funny how that worked. He just said, actually, I feel like you should start giving, and he challenged me on that. So I did. I started to give, and some funny things started happening. I got overpaid by my first job 3 times. Paid me too much 3 times. First 2 times, I told my manager about it, and they said, oh, we'll look into it. They never looked into it and did anything about it. So I got to keep the extra money. Third time, they looked into it, and they said, hey, is it all right if we hold that back from your next pay? And I said, that's fine. But they trusted me so much that they actually gave me a pay rise. So, funny little way how that works. And actually, my next job after that, I actually got overpaid at one point as well. So 4 times. I don't know if anyone's ever been overpaid by their work, but I've been working for 8 years, I think now. 4 times it's happened, so pretty crazy. But that's kind of like, I guess, the tip of the iceberg, because things have just compounded from that point for me in terms of giving. I said before about Mozambique. I got a good friend of mine in Mozambique named Abel, and he's had a lot of really troubling things happen to him over the last few years. Mozambique is quite a troubled place in general. So McKenna and I have supported him for him to try and get through school, for his tertiary education. We also helped his family. I don't know if you guys know this, but Al-Shabaab is quite a strong presence in northern Mozambique, which is where his family's from. So we, at quite high expense, paid for them to be evacuated out last year when things were pretty dire. When they defeated the Mozambique army in a city called Mocimboa de Praia. Sorry, that's pretty badly pronounced, but so we paid at great expense to get them out of there as well, out to safety. So a couple of ways in which we've supported them, which has come at great cost to us personally, but at the same time, again, God does some funny things in response. One day I woke up and I don't know why, but I checked my bank account and there was $1,000 just sitting there. And where'd that come from? And one of my family just flipped us $1,000. It was like, well, why'd you do that? But just did. So it was like, there wasn't really any reason to it. Context as well. My family's not Christian, so that's even more cool in that context. Another time it was more still. One time it was $15,000. So this is the way God works, right? Like if you're obedient to Him and do what He tells you to do, He'll find ways to bless you in response. And that's not it. There were plenty other times where I got random bonuses from work. Other people felt like to give money or to buy things for us. It's happened so many times. I actually have lost count of how many times it's happened over the past few years. But it's always been linked to giving to something. Sometimes we've been blessed first, and then a couple of days later there's a need that comes up and it's like, oh, God sees to give to this. And it goes like that way. But sometimes it's the other way around, if we've given first and then God's given in response. But always linked. Always linked. So I think that's pretty cool. Like, God knows it is a cost to give, but He blesses you in response. I think it's important to state this, though. It's not going to always be financial blessing in response. As a matter of fact, it's actually better to not be financially blessed in response. It would be better to be blessed in another way. Righteousness, favour, intimacy with Him. Those things are so much better than money. You can't buy that with money. But, He does bless financially as well. There's a great verse in Philippians which I think kind of backs that up. It says, "Moreover, as you Philippians know, in the early days of your acquaintance with the gospel, when I set out from Macedonia, not one church shared with me in the matter of giving and receiving, except you only. For even when I was in Thessalonica, you sent me aid more than once when I was in need. Not that I desire your gifts. What I desire is that more be credited to your account. So ultimately, it's clear, like, whether you are blessed monetarily or not monetarily, you will be blessed for your giving. Your giving is credited to you. So even if you never see anything hit your bank account, know that you are blessed for it. You're made more like Christ. You have God's favor upon you. You have more intimacy with him. You have so much great stuff as a result of following his lead. So God is going to bless anyway. That's his heart. He is going to do it. But by taking part in the process, we get to be a part of that blessing too. We get to feel some of that back to ourselves. That's such a joy to say that I get to bless people through my giving, and then I get blessed in response to it. That's fundamentally the message today. So I opened by asking a few questions, and I want to come back to that now. How do you feel about giving? Do you know that God has chosen you as a means of pouring out his blessing? And do you know that by doing that, you're going to be blessed too? Is blessing people and giving, is that a joy to you? I'll leave you with those thoughts.